Hi, hello. Welcome back or welcome in if you're new to my channel, a space where I try to share my writing journey, and that includes a lot of things. A platform, guides, narrations of my own work, common struggles for creatives, book cover making process. However, the first video that I ever shared was a sort of writing vlog. Well, more of a planning vlog. I made 10 of them, and they certainly weren't the best, but I'm still proud of them. Today, I'd like to make another one of those, a writing vlog, which I really miss doing. So, for those of you that are new or haven't watched my video about one of the stories I am working on, it's sort of a paranormal romance web novel that I am currently publishing on the platform web novel. It is basically a love story between a human and a werewolf, or as they call themselves in this universe, wolf shifters. As of today, roughly 140 chapters are available to read. Yes, it's the way it goes on web novel. Readers like the chapters smaller in size and bigger in numbers. Today, I'm going to be planning and writing chapter 156. It's a lovely chapter that I'm really excited to write. Let us go to my planning document. Side note, I recently made a video about my writing tools in which I said that I now use Notion for extensive and detailed planning. But for this story, I had built this plan way before that, and I did not want to move everything over. Okay, if you've watched my chapter planning video, that's cool. My process hasn't changed since. I still follow the same formula. Starting with the setting, which is going to be the Fairwolf clan manor. It belongs to the maternal grandparents of the male lead. Well, technically it belongs to his mother ever since she rose to the rank of Alpha, and it would soon belong to him once he rises to that same rank in turn. Moving on to the characters involved. Nathaniel, of course, our male lead. Then we've got Lyra, who appears in the story for the very first time, actually. Lyra happens to be Akalia's mother, and Akalia is the male lead's designated mate. Their union had been arranged since their childhood by their parents to achieve mutual goals. Because in this universe, I laid some rules for the functioning of the supernatural society. I made it that only firstborn werewolves were able to compete for and ascend to the rank of Alpha. Due to the exceptional power they were bestowed right from birth. Whereas second or thirdborns to the same couple would never achieve that. So basically, in the same clan or bloodline, only firstborns in a certain age bracket can compete for the title. Then there is the law that demands a wolf shifter or werewolf to have a mate in order to ascend. Nathaniel needed a mate in order to rise to that title, and with Akalia being a second-born to her parents, therefore a beta from different bloodline, was suitable because it meant there was no conflict of interest between them, since only one has the potential to become an alpha anyways. Next, the third character involved in this chapter is going to be Ava, Nathaniel's little sister. Okay, great. We can move on to the actual planning. Now, I am at a place where Akalia is feeling quite down. She's technically the female lead's rival, but instead of the venomous, jealous, and nasty archetype, Akalia is none of that. She sure has feelings for Nathaniel, but she knows he doesn't reciprocate them, and yet what kills her the most is that she doesn't even get a say in whether she agrees to their union or not. She genuinely cares for him, and she doesn't want to be with him in that way. She's kind and sweet, and she's not the type of woman that even takes initiative. She's pretty passive most of the time. She just never went against the wishes of her parents, who have already planned her entire life for her. Even the date for their wedding has been decided without consulting neither of them. Anyway, the chapter opens with Nathaniel coming back to the Fairwolf mansion after a long day, and his first stop is Akalia's room to check on her because for the past 2 days or so she had been spiraling. Especially after Nathaniel's mother paid her a visit to let her know that she'd picked a wedding dress for her. The poor thing doesn't even get to choose that. Anyways, he knocks and can already hear a familiar voice and smell a familiar scent through the door. Lo and behold, Lyra opens the door and she's all giddy and happy as if she was the bride-to-be. She pretty much shoos Nathaniel away, telling him that Akalia is trying her wedding dress and that she's fine and over the moon, but he presses doubt on that. He had conversations with Akalia about it, and she was, in fact, not happy. Nevertheless, he does leave, and his next stop is Ava's room. So, the sibling relationship between the two had always been particular. They always cared and were protective over each other, but never truly got to spend any time together. Thing is, with the firstborn system thing, their parents put all of their efforts and hopes and gave all of their attention to Nathaniel to educate and prepare him for the competition of his generation, whereas Ava got nothing. With all the neglect, she grew into a troubled teenager, all angry and brash, never thinking before acting. She knew how to get herself in trouble. So yeah, their relationship is particularly strained. She loves but envies him, and he's not completely oblivious to the treatment she receives, most especially from their mother, the alpha of the clan, but he also never had the opportunity to address his feelings about it. Well, it was more that he never found the confidence to address them. His relationship with his mother is also quite complicated. In any case, due to how different of a life they lived up until they met, ever since Rosemary, or the female lead, came into his life, things started to change a bit. Some of her ways had started to rub off on him, opening his eyes to certain things in his life. Mainly, what had stunned him was how much progress she'd made with his sister after one single conversation, whereas he struggled with that his entire life. I'd love to talk more about the dynamics between the characters later, because I'd like to make a video on how I structure my character sheet in a way that makes my life easier when I write them. Moving on. The two start the conversation by him asking about her progress as she is training her wolf hearing. He then suggests something he'd never done before by asking if she wanted to train for combat with him, and she's stoked about it, ecstatic. They have a little scene where he teaches her a few things, but after that they have a little heart-to-heart where she finally asks him questions she genuinely wanted to ask and could never find the time or courage to. The invisible barriers between the two of them start to crumble a little bit, and he finally understands what Rosemary meant when she'd advised him to go easy on Ava and actually listen to her instead of putting up that frigid and polite counterfeit facade he puts around his peers and members of his clan. So all in all, this chapter introduces Lyra, which gives a bit of a taste as to the kind of life that Akalia had, a mother that's completely disinterested in the needs or wants of her own daughter. Then we have a bonding moment between Ava and Nathaniel, which kind of paves the way for Ava's growth, both as a person and as a wolf. But Nathaniel's too, as he grows more into the role of the leader and role model his mother wanted him to be, but went sort of the wrong way about teaching him. There's some more, however, this is a premiere chapter and I'd like to keep some things a mystery. After the planning, there's of course the writing. To be completely honest, I find a lot of pleasure writing this story, especially when the chapters are from the female lead's perspective, because I picked a first-person point of view. And with the clash in personalities between the two leads, I get a lot of fun in scenes in which they get to interact. The scenes between the female lead and Izzy, her best friend, are also a blast to write because they're both unhinged and they've known each other for over 15 years or something. Oops, I think I'll have to check this detail. But yeah, they know each other like the back of their own hands. They're just so much fun to write. It does fascinate me that I was so reluctant to write romance at first, but I can say now that I fell in love with almost all of the characters. There are definitely some that I'd like to develop further. I think what gives me this feeling is the fact that I wrote a story that I, as a reader, would 100% pick. So I can confidently say that even if nobody buys the chapters, I'd still finish this story unless something literally happens to me before I do, in which case, well, boohoo. Alright, I think I blabbered for long enough. I'll stop right here before things get out of hand. If you read romance novels on Webnovel, then perhaps this one will interest you. It's a slow burn and things build up over time. If that's your cup of tea, then maybe you will like it. I'm currently working on a second web novel which will be releasing next month on the same platform. Still romance. I'd like to work on my long format romance stories before I move to more concise stories. Okay, thank you for watching. If you liked it, then please leave a like or comment. Perhaps even subscribe if you think my content might interest you. I do hope to see you all in the next video, but until then, take care of yourselves, stay safe, and bye-bye.